You've seen this Angelos ownership. When you saw that explode into the blogosphere that night, with the city initially having that first evening of difficulty, and then, of course, it was read against what happened several days later, and what you've learned since about Peter and John Angelos, what are your thoughts?
Well, I was surprised with the kind of outburst on Twitter, but at the same time, I was told through all of this that Peter Angelos, in his discussions with Major League Baseball about all these games being moved to St. Petersburg and games being played without fans, that not once did he bring up the word revenue to Major League Baseball. His number one and really only concern was the safety of the people at the ballpark and around Baltimore, and of course for players and everyone else on the club. So not once did he ask, what is in this for me? And I think ultimately the Orioles did a really good job handling all this. And I heard all sorts of people say, oh, they should have invited people into that fanless game, children or members of the military or whatever. I understand all that. I just was there, and I understand that I think the Orioles did this the right way, and they handled the whole thing pretty darn well. All
right, so Sam Angell, as I turn to you, we know what Jeff Barker said, that the O's are trying to keep a low profile. But you and a group of your friends are trying to organize a reopening night. What do you want to see tonight?
Yeah, that's right. Well, we want to get the ballpark full. You mentioned that day in 1988 with 50,000 fans. We were playing the Blue Jays, which is the same team that we played on the actual home opening date. And, you know, from our perspective, we just want to sort of get that same optimism and same enthusiasm that people bring to every opening day and get it flowing again for the whole city.
Why is this important?
Well, I mean, you heard Adam Jones talk about it up in the very front of the show, that teams can really create a bond within a community. I mean, we've seen it certainly throughout the history of baseball in this country, back to World War II, with the whole league bringing the country together, and then more recently with the Yankees making a run to the World Series right after 9/11, and then the Red Sox winning the World Series the same year of the Boston Marathon bombings. So, I mean, obviously this is a totally different situation, but, you know, hopefully we can get people to get excited about the Orioles and get optimistic about the city and build from there.
Tim, every team loves its city, but city loves its team. But there are a few cities where it's really as deep and so visible as with the O's. And I've spent some time down there. I've seen it firsthand. And you were there in '88 at the Horseshoe when they came back 1-21, and they thought, what, that this was going to be a disaster.
Right. They were actually, Bob, 1-23 when they came back from that trip to Chicago. And I was the beat guy that year. I covered every one of those games. And I remember that Sunday in Chicago when they lost to go to 1-23. Freddie Lynn, one of the real good guys on that team, told his teammates, half jokingly, we better all wear helmets in the field on Monday because they're going to throw rocks at us. That's how bad we are. And instead, they absolutely filled that ballpark on a Monday night. Jay Tibbs went out and beat the Oakland A's. It was one of the most remarkable things I've ever seen. This horrendously bad baseball team that was brought back by the fans of Baltimore, who said ultimately, we love you no matter what. And I think we're going to see some of that tonight in a completely, of course, different context.